Welcome to the Jay Sizzle podcast. Today, I'm going to be doing a podcast that I haven't done yet, that I'm really interested to get into here. I'm going to be doing a tennis podcast. I'm going to be talking about the U.S. Open that is still, of course, going on right now. It's one of the four major Grand Slams, along with Wimbledon, the French Open, and Australian. I'm going to be talking about the draw. What guys are still there, what guys lost that was unexpected. And just everything about this tournament. It's really been a crazy tournament so far. It's been crazier matches than, I can remember at a lot of Grand Slams recently. The matches have been great so far. A lot of upsets. So it's really been enjoyable to watch. I'm going to do the men's podcast today, and then I'll do the women's podcast tomorrow. So let me get started. As you guys know, the number one seed, the number one player in the world who has tried to break the Grand Slam record if he can win this U.S. Open is Novak Djokovic. And Novak Djokovic is into round 4. He's currently playing right now. He's playing against Jenson Brooksby, who at Karatsev just last round. And he's currently playing Novak Djokovic right now. Novak Djokovic is currently up 2-1. Djokovic did drop the first set 6-1. And Brooksby is hopefully maybe the next, big American. There's a couple Americans that have really done well in this tournament. Riley's done really well. Jack Sock did well. It's too bad to see him lose, with the injuries against Zverev the other night. But, Brooksby is a very solid player. He's very consistent. He's steady. And he's, even if he ends up losing this match to Djokovic here tonight, he's, it was an incredible tournament for him and a good run. And he played well against the number one player in the world. But as that's being said, Novak seems to, a lot of people would say he would have an easier draw to win this championship at the U.S. Open than he's ever really had. Dominic Thiem is not playing. Federer's not playing. Rafa's not playing. There's a lot of guys that are not playing in the U.S. Open this year, because of injuries and many other things. But that doesn't really mean that he's a necessary win, right? You still have Medvedev, who has been playing really well in this tournament so far. He beat Dan Evans the other day, so that was a really good match to see. He beat him in straight sets. He beat him 3-4 and 3, and Dan Evans was playing pretty well this entire tournament too. And Medvedev took him out pretty easy there. I was able to watch some of that match. Diego Schwartzman, who's a guy, I don't think he could have beat Djokovic, but he's a guy who's, ranked 11 for this tournament. He's been playing, pretty well the last couple months. He ended up losing. Alcaraz ended up winning again in round number 4. So that means Alcaraz will move on to the quarterfinals. It's his first time he's been in the quarterfinals in a Grand Slam tournament. So he's had some incredible matches. He beat Tsitsipas in 5 sets. I actually was at that match. I went to that match in person. An incredible match, and he played really well. I thought he was going to lose the match after he lost the 4th set 6-0. I thought Tsitsipas had all the momentum, but I was wrong. Alcaraz was able to stay in it, just stay consistent, didn't make a lot of errors in the 5th set, and just played a solid overall set. So he won the other day yesterday. Sorry, he won yesterday as well. So he's into the quarterfinals. So maybe look for him to be a sleeper guy who could win this tournament. Felix beat Tiafoe last night. That was a great 4-set match. Felix, struggled a lot in the first set, double faulted a lot, made a lot of errors, but was able to really pick his game up. Zverev won his match today against Sinner. And Sinner, was a guy who, is very solid overall, a guy that I feel like a lot of people sleep on his ability and his potential. He played really well against Monfils the other day. He was up 2 sets to love. And he did end up losing the next 2 sets to bring it to a 5th set. He did kind of feel a little pressured. You could tell the pressure got to him, but he was able to close it out in the 5th, despite all the crowd, against him and the crowd noise. So definitely was able to handle the pressure towards the end there really well. Berrettini won today as well, so Berrettini's into the quarterfinals. And then, of course, the last match is the Djokovic match that's currently going on right now. So the way I look at it, Djokovic will play Berrettini if he's able to win tonight. Zverev is going to play Harris, who was able to upset Riley Opelka, who I did mention Riley Opelka. I forgot to mention he lost. But Riley Opelka was playing really well throughout this tournament. Didn't play well today. I was actually able to catch a little bit of the match. But, Riley is, it's tough. I feel bad because Riley was really playing well. And, the Americans were showing a lot of progress this year at this U.S. Open, with Tiafoe and Riley and Brooksby as well. So let's see what this means for the future of American tennis. Now, a lot of people can argue, though, that this tournament was, still an incredible tournament roster-wise, but a lot of guys weren't there, so maybe the Americans wouldn't have had as much success if they were there. I've seen people say that. It's too tough to tell. I think Tiafoe, is a very overall. I think he's a little too inconsistent sometimes in terms of his game. Some days he looks incredible. He looks like he's one of the top 10 players in the world, and then other days he doesn't look like he's even a top 100 player. So I think he's ranked around 55 currently. But this was one of the tournaments where Tiafoe looked like he was almost unstoppable. And, Felix played out of his mind the last 3 sets to beat him. And Tiafoe still hitting some incredible shots the entire match. Just made one too many mistakes. That was really it. That was the reason why Felix was able to walk away with the win in that match. But, yeah, it's cool to see Tiafoe playing really well. I've had a chance to meet him before. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. And, I know he really cares a lot about tennis. He's very focused. And it's cool to see him, have the success he had at the U.S. Open. Because he's had success before at the U.S. Open. I think he made the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open a couple years ago. So the U.S. Open, I guess, is his best Grand Slam, you would say. So hopefully maybe one day, I know it may be a stretch. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But hopefully maybe one day we could see an American win the U.S. Open. And maybe it will be Tiafoe. That would be really cool to see. So Tiafoe's had some success for sure at the U.S. Open in New York. They like him up there. But in terms of beating Novak, I think Novak will beat Berrettini in 4 sets if I could predict that one. Zverev will beat Harris, I think. I think Felix will beat Alcaraz, and I think Medvedev will win in his match. So that means Medvedev, if he wins his match, what I'm predicting, Medvedev will play Felix in the semis, and then you'll have Novak against Zverev, right? And I think, honestly, I'm going to take Zverev in the upset. I think Zverev will win that match and advance to the finals. And then I'm going to take Medvedev in the other semifinal against Felix. And then I think Zverev will win his first Grand Slam. I really do. And Zverev's been playing really good tennis. He really has. He played great today. I was able to catch a good amount of that match. He's not making a lot of errors. He's playing really smart. His serve's big. He's got a big serve. He moves pretty well for a guy his size. So, yeah, I think Zverev's going to win this entire tournament. And that would be really crazy, because obviously Djokovic is going for the record, Grand Slam-wise. He's going for, I think, his 4th, U.S. Open in general. So I think this will be his 4th if he was able to win. He didn't win last year. Obviously, you guys know he got disqualified from the tournament with the thing with the umpire. But yeah, that would be crazy if Zverev was able to win this whole tournament. And I think he has a chance to. Out of all the young guys, Zverev, Felix, Tiafoe, Alcaraz, Thiem, Tsitsipas. I personally like Zverev's game the most. I think Tsitsipas can be a little too mental sometimes. Shapovalov, I didn't mention him. I think sometimes he could be too mental too. He's got a great game though. Felix, I think Felix has incredible potential. I think he'll win Grand Slams down the line eventually. But I think Zverev is the next, guy. I think Zverev I like his overall game a lot. I enjoy watching him. He's pretty good mentally in my opinion. And he just got a solid overall game. So I think he's going to be around for a while. So definitely got to keep an eye out for. He's ranked number 4 currently in the world, if you guys didn't know. So, and I was able to catch him. I was able to watch a couple of his matches at the U.S. Open when I went in person, and he's a really fun guy to watch in person. One guy that I was not, super happy about was Shapovalov is like my favorite player to watch in person, and he did not play very well at all. He got a little mental in that match, just got a little frustrated, a little down on himself early in the match. He ended up losing in straight sets. And, I stayed for the majority of that match, and it was just tough to see that match really. He wasn't really playing well, making a lot of errors. So hopefully Shapovalov can pick it up. I know it was a tough loss for him in the semis at Wimbledon, but hopefully he can pick it up and just kind of move on. Because, a lot of these guys, these young guys, they've been doing really well at the U.S. Open. But if you look at previous tournaments, let's say Shapovalov losing at Wimbledon, you can't let a previous tournament, really continue to hurt you. And I know it's easier said than, done. I'm sure it's an incredibly hard thing to get over, and I would never be able to get over something like that. But you need to move on. You need to move on. And Shapovalov needs to realize he still has incredible potential in this sport, and he could be a guy who could be winning Grand Slams in the next couple of years. He's got that kind of potential in my opinion. So just needs to get his mental game back a little bit. I know after the U.S. Open now he'll get a little bit of an off season, which will be nice for him maybe to kind of take a little mental, reset and kind of just reset and kind of get back into, his normal groove mentally and show us why he really is one of the better players in the world. So definitely something we'll have to keep an eye out for sure. So yeah, I mean, if Zverev was able to win this tournament, man, that would be crazy if he was able to win the U.S. Open and win his first Grand Slam at the Grand Slam that Djokovic is trying to break the record at. So we'll see what happens with that. My overall experience at the U.S. Open, to talk about that for a little bit, it was great. I really enjoyed everything. I had a great time in New York City. Really enjoyed the city every single day. Walking around doing different things in the city was really fun. But with the U.S. Open, it was great, and I haven't been to the U.S. Open. This was the first time I had been in many years, and they really changed a lot of things around. You know, um, the food was a lot different. Had more like food stands. Um, the practice courts, the bleachers, I think they upgraded them a little bit. They were a little nicer, I noticed. There's a whole new Louis Armstrong Stadium. I know it's been there a couple of years now, but the last time I went, it was the old Louis Armstrong with the grandstand attached. So they have a brand new grandstand, a brand new Louis Armstrong. They did a lot of additions to Court 17. They made it very big and very nice. Holds a lot of people. Arthur Ashe obviously has a roof on it. If you guys didn't know, a retractable roof. That roof wasn't on it when I went. Louis Armstrong also has a retractable roof on it, so they have two indoor courts that they can use at all times, which is a really, a really nice thing to be able to have. The grounds are really nice. They keep them up really nice. They maintain them really well. The food's great. Just to be able to see the guys practice. I got to see Felix practice. I got to see Zverev hit a little bit. So I got to see many guys practice, and it was really fun to see. And I got to see a lot of guys play. I got to see Shapovalov play, Djokovic, Alcaraz. Got to see Tsitsipas play as well. Got to see Rublev play against Tiafoe. So that was a great match. I watched that match. Got to see Jack Sock play. I'm trying to think of who else I got to see play. Those are really the main guys I can think of, but it was really enjoyable to go. And I also got to see a lot of the women play as well, and that was really fun too. So it was overall a really enjoyable time. And if you guys are looking to take like a sports vacation, around September time, late August, September time, I would definitely recommend the U.S. Open. It's a fun time. New York's a great city, a lot of things to do, a lot of places to go. And the U.S. Open's great. You'll really enjoy walking around the grounds and just going from court to court. The food's great, a lot of good drinks. You'll also be able to just enjoy the fact that you'll be able to see every player. All the big players go to the U.S. Open. It's one of the 4 major Grand Slams, as I mentioned earlier. And, it just seems like every year, I really haven't been. This is the first time I'd been in like 6-7 years. And they did a ton of stuff since the last time I went. But even just seeing pictures and hearing people that I know that go, every year they're always like innovating and doing new stuff, So it was just a really cool overall experience, and it's something that I'll never forget. Probably my most fun vacation ever, going to the U.S. Open and being able to go back to New York City. So, yeah, I mean, make sure you guys go ahead and put that one on your bucket list for sure, because that's a really fun time, and I promise you it's worth the money, and it's worth the hype for sure. You're going to get every dollar you spend is worth it. So definitely something that, I was really able to enjoy. Because it's crazy. I've been to a lot of tournaments. I've been to the Delray Beach Open. I've been to Miami, and going to those 2 tournaments is great. Delray's very small. It's a 250 tournament, so the winner gets 250 points. It's the smallest tournament, out of how the points go. It goes 250, 500, 1,000, and then the Grand Slam is worth 2,000 points. So Delray's the smallest, right, of the tournaments. It's not the smallest tournament in terms of prize money and everything, but it's in the 250 group, which is a smaller tournaments. And it's a really cool tournament because it's a local tournament, and it's a tournament where, you really kind of just get to like know everybody, and you walk around, and it's small, and all the courts are really close to each other. There's no grandstand, and it's just a bunch of practice courts in the stadium. So that's cool. Delray definitely has its positives for sure. Miami Open's really cool. They moved it to the Dolphin Stadium. I think this will be upcoming the 3rd year they've had it there. They moved it to the Dolphin Stadium, which is cool. I did like it at Crandon Park too, not going to lie. I think it was a little nicer there, but it's kind of cool at the Dolphin Stadium too. Miami Open's cool. They have all the players too, because that's a 1,000. That's a Masters tournament. So they have all the big players there as well. But, it's just, neither of those tournaments, as great as they are, neither of them feel like the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is just another level of a tournament in terms of, the size of the tournament and the feel you have when you're there, when you're watching those players play, because there's so much more on the line compared to other tournaments, and just the fact they're also in New York City. So, yeah, I mean, going to all 3 of those tournaments, I would say the U.S. Open's my favorite. Miami's probably second, and then I'd say Delray's probably third. But overall, I like all of those tournaments. And tennis is a really fun sport to go watch in person. Because you can just walk from one court to the next court. I want to see Shapovalov play at 7. Okay, I'll see 2 sets of that match, and then I'll go see Novak play on center court at 9:30. So it's really cool because you have the freedom to just walk around and do what you want and go see a lot of different players in a short amount of time. And I try to go to these tournaments early because a lot of the guys are still in it early, and you can see a lot of guys practice and play. So I try to go to these tournaments early. I went this past weekend. It was round 3 and 4, I believe. So it was really cool to just see a lot of these guys still in the tournament because it was still very early in the tournament. And like I said, I already went over the names of the guys I was able to see. And if I went, for the quarters or semis, it would be really cool too. No doubt, it would be great. But it wouldn't be as cool because you wouldn't be able to see as many guys in the tournament still. And, your wish list of the guys you want to see would definitely dwindle down because a lot of guys would be out. So, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the podcast today. I enjoyed sharing my experience at the U.S. Open with you guys, talking a little bit of tennis with you guys. I'm going to do more tennis podcasts coming up in the future here. I'm going to have some special guests on the tennis podcast coming up for sure. So make sure you tune into that. And I hope you guys have a good day.